Welcome to the Founders Table. I am Stefan Bunch with my good friend and business partner, the one and only
Drew Sanford. Here I am.
Yeah, we're going to have a good combo today. We have had some really, it's been a fun season for us as a business. And as part of that, you're bringing on employees and you're bringing on a team. And we thought, for business owners, for employees, this would be a good conversation to listen to as well.
Yeah.
And we're talking a lot about bringing time versus value into the conversation when it comes to having employees. Now, Drew, you've owned businesses where you've had hundreds of employees. So you have a lot of really good insight on this. Our business, we're growing.
I have a lot of what not to do. I have learned what not to do 1.5 million times with employees and how to manage and do things like that. And I think this is this to me is one of the biggest problems business owners face when they start to grow. And especially as a young entrepreneur or a newer person, like starting a business, you end up with your families members, you know what I mean? Family members are working for you. Some friends are working for you. And, there's rules, don't hire family, don't fire, relatives that work together, stuff like that. But, at the end of the day, you try to make the best decision as a business owner you can.
Yeah.
The budget might be tight. You may know somebody. Like, this is all just life, right? And it's messy sometimes. And I think the organization and as you grow this business, there's definite steps to do this properly.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. When it comes to like your first employees typically are people that you know.
Yep.
It's been referred to by a friend or a family member, might
There's
be
circles,
a friend.
SOIs, people like that you know. Yep.
Yeah. And so it can get gray and a little scary pretty quickly if the expectation isn't quite the reality on both sides.
Yeah. And a lot of people, again, a lot of people have hard times having those conversations with people at first. And, how do you handle somebody if you've never had to do it, right?
Exactly.
Most people never fire anybody in life, right? And it's a hard, complicated thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's never good. I don't want to fire anybody, and how I try to set up my business and how we try to set up employees here and what I've done in the past as I've developed and learned through this is I try not to fire anybody. I try to let them fire themselves based on this is your job expectation. Here's what you need to do. Mm-hmm. Are you doing it or are you not? And kind of put it back on them, and that's a very brief, not great example, but it's the truth in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk through that a little bit. Also, kind of the pressures that come with, as a business owner, bringing on employees. You start to feel the weight of family, of you're supporting somebody or bringing on somebody, and your business needs to be able to support what they're providing as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes as a business owner, especially starting up, you might not be taking a paycheck. You might be investing into the company and your employees are making money. And so sometimes it gets a little bit of a hard feeling.
Oh, man,
when
you get frustrated and then it gets on you and then it pesters you and then you're annoyed and then you stop communicating as well. And it's the death spiral of employees.
Exactly. I'm with you. So let's have a conversation about what that looks like to have a good what do we want to say? Boundaries or setup for employees to succeed.
Yeah.
And then the expectations, how do we present those in a way to make sure that we as a business owner feel good about it, but also that the employee can be fully on board as well?
I think, and we've gone over this in some of the episodes, and we're going to continue to go over this type of stuff. There's going to be some redundant things we talk about, but this is one of those, as a business owner, when I go in and I coach people and I help people with businesses that they're starting and they're developing, I think one of the big things that happens is normally the business owner understands the trade really well. Whatever the job is, they're really good at that job. But now all of a sudden you have to be an expert at a little bit of accounting, a little bit of a lawyer, a little bit of an insurance agent, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And now all of a sudden you're wearing this HR hat that you've I just want to go do my job, man. But instead now you're trying to manage people, you're trying to manage different personalities, things like that. Yeah. And I think that's a huge, huge factor with business people that you have to develop those skills. And business people on the majority are ADD, space cadets. This one's guilty. And the thing with that is you got to be organized. You got to try to be as organized as you can. But the great news is we have AI these days. And you could go into ChatGPT and in 35 seconds you could say, "Hey, help me write a job description." And you can halfway write jumbled up sentences and you could put together a world-class looking job description based off a few prompts when you do that.
Yeah. When you're starting a business, especially like you said, business owners a lot of the time, ADHD, they're seeing the vision 3, 5, 10 years down the road. They're making decisions. Business owners make a lot of decisions in a day. They have to be on the move. And sometimes when we're in this grind of like we're building something, we're making a lot of different decisions, we shouldn't, but we expect that our employee is going to come along and they're going to work through that as well in the same way. But I think a lot of business owners fail right off the bat because they don't have the clear expectations for their employees that they need.
Very much.
Because the employee is never going to care as much as the owner. And when problems come, it's not their responsibility to be the problem solver that we are. In their role, they need to be a problem solver, 100%.
Ideally.
But for the decisions that you make on a daily basis, we need to have roles that the clear expectations on here's what the daily is. And so I think as a business owner, how would you help to build those expectations? You kind of shared a little bit about ChatGPT.
I mean, I would start with they need a really good job description, and it needs to be as detailed as you can. And I think it needs to have an overarching part. Look, this is the goal of your job. You know, if the employee doesn't know the expectations that they have, how can they be a good employee? You know, my wife, me and her, a squaffle that most couples have is, honey, I'm not a mind reader, right? So how do you expect Bob, your employee that you've known for 10 years, how do you expect him to know exactly what you want to do? And if you think that somebody knows what you want to do, but you haven't said it, you're setting the whole situation up for failure. So overarching, the employee really needs to clearly understand the goal of my job is this. If I can do this, I'm being successful. And then you go in and you put the details that support that.
Yeah.
Something that I try to do with the employees too is I try to give them micro wins involved so they can see like, if this is the goal, here are 10 steps to get there, or here are 5 steps to get there. Here's the parameters around what that is. And you're creating guardrails. Every employee needs to have guardrails on what they do. Because if not, one of the big problems is all of a sudden you have Bob interfering with Steve's job and it's causing a conflict. And then Sarah gets involved because Steve did some of Sarah's job. And then all of a sudden you've got a whole escapade in front of you.
Nobody knows their role.
Nobody knows what's going on. And it's a very common problem, but if you can identify those guardrails and get those out there, and to me, it's a 100% management ownership problem. And I think if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 employees, you need to almost build. It could be on a napkin at lunch today. Mm-hmm. You could write down your name at the top of it and build either a flow chart or a Sarah does the CSR role, Bob does the communication and bidding, Ben and Frank and whoever does the technical work, whatever that is, and then start looking at what those are and start putting guardrails around it. It doesn't have to be the most specific in this case, but it needs to have some sort of guardrails that these people do this job, this person does this job. And I'm not a big title person, so I'm not saying you have to be the vice president of marketing in a 4-person company. Like, don't care. Literally don't care. Not my world. I don't care. But they need to know what their job is. Now, one of the biggest things that I think you're really good at is the employees need to see the vision of the company. Yeah. If they don't know what your vision is as a leader and say, look, team, we are here and we're going here. And however you need to draw that picture from here to there, they need to understand what that is, because more information you give people, especially in today's day and age, with younger people today, business has changed. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, business, it was the CEO and the board of directors knew where it was going, and they only gave snippets of information to middle management and lower management, and they didn't know what was going on. You do your job. This is what it is. Don't ask questions. I tell you what to do.
It was like our parents telling us, just do it because I said so.
Do it because I said so.
But our generation and younger,
that's not going to work.
We just
you
don't
can't.
Take it.
When I hear business owners come to me and they're like, well, the young guys don't want to work. No. They're just not dumb. Like, we're not dumb. Young people today are not dumb. We want to make sure, and there's a lot more emotion involved with people today, and they want to make sure they're with a company that they like. They want to make sure they're working for people they like. They want to make sure the vision of where they're going is what they like.
Yeah.
So if you could share that vision, you can share that, and you could get everybody on your team and get them on the bus and get them pointed in the right direction. I always joke, it's like a flock of birds, right? Like, I don't care how the flock flies. We're going south for the winter, and you're either on board or you're not.
Yeah.
At least go the same direction with our group. But if you don't teach them what that is and say, look, we're a bunch of ducks and we're flying this way, they don't know that. So we got to get everybody together. They got to know the vision of the company. They need to know where it's going, and they got to understand, and they got to feel it. And that touchy, warm, fuzzy feeling. Some people suck at it. I'm kind of one of those. Like at some points of my life, like I'm not like, guys, we just got to do it because it's our job. Well, I get that, but if you haven't painted the picture of the why and you haven't given them the reason, like they're not going to be soldiers for you in the company and holding each other accountable and all the things that you want in a good employee base. You gotta paint that picture from the top down. You gotta show them this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and here's how we're going about it. How can you contribute to doing that?
For sure. I think understanding the employees' why as well, understanding their goals, their vision of what they want for their family, and then as the business owner, really you've got to create a vision for your business that's bigger than even what you probably expect today, because it's got to be big enough for your employees to be able to see their vision in it.
Yeah, I think most business owners, they look at their job and they say, this is the career that I chose, and this is how I feed my family, this is how they feed their family. And it's very, we do this for work, and then then it's not. And I think today's day and age, I think that culture has shifted. Mm-hmm. And I almost relate this, like, I think a long time ago, I mean, in the 60s, 70s, 80s in manufacturing, like there was pride in what they do. And then I almost feel like there was like this whole culture around like, this is my 9 to 5, I'm going to check in, check out, and I'm done. But I think we're kind of going back into that, like, I'm going to take pride in my job. If you could get your employees to take pride in what they do, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. The employees are going to want to work for you. It's going to help you find new employees. It's going to help everything grow. It's going to make them take ownership of what they're doing in their role. And that's what you want as a business owner, especially when you start setting up for different, if you're in the growing stage, that's one thing. But once you're into the maintaining business relations, whatever that is, and if you want to be gone for 2 weeks and go take a vacation with the family, like how do you do that if you have a bunch of employees with you that literally don't care? It's not going to happen, and you're set. This is how you set yourself up, and it's all the culture, and it's how you set this business up from the beginning, and sharing with your employees, them understanding the why behind the business and what they're doing, and make that this is huge. Most business owners don't think big enough. We own a plumbing company. We own a CPA firm. We own this. This is what we do, and that's all it is. No, it's bigger than that. And if you don't know how to make it bigger than that, you need to do research, and you need to figure out what is the motivation for you and why you're doing this, and then how do you incentivize your employees behind that to make them where they want to do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like you said, it's got to be bigger. The vision has to be big enough for your employees to see their vision in it.
Yep.
But that takes, having coffee with your guys and with your team, and understanding where they're at and where they see themselves, and then building a plan to help them get there.
Yeah.
As the company moves forward, we're going to make sure that you are as a part of it, and that we see your vision and your future as part of it as well.
Yeah. I think if you're watching today and you go, yep, that's me, I raise my hand, like I'm struggling with a couple employees. I've got 2 to 20 employees. I'm growing. I've hired people, and I've got 3 really good ones. I've got 2 that I wish would not show back up for work. And then I've got a bunch of others that are just kind of the average. It is what it is. And you're looking at it going, how do I scale my business? Because what happens is you get in the cycle of, well, I need to hire somebody else. I need to hire somebody else. I need to hire somebody else. And in my opinion, I would take 5 A employees over 20 C employees.
Yeah.
And the C employees end up running off the A employees, and you got to get that balance in shape. So I think step 1 is you need to look inward first. Okay, I've got employees. I'm in this predicament now. I know I need help. I'm watching this podcast today. What can I do to take the next step? First, step 1, look at the business, look at your values, look at all that, put all that down together, get it organized. Again, go to ChatGPT, spend 1 hour. 1 hour. Take 1 hour of your time and try to organize your business on ChatGPT and just figure out what it can do. It'll blow your mind if you've never done it. So get that figured out. Figure out your why. Figure out what the company's why is. Do that. The second step, and very, very important step, is you need to understand the employee's why. And if you know what motivates people, you use that tool, not manipulative. You can easily use this manipulative. And that's the hard thing about business, is you've got business owners that are manipulative and use people, and then you understand why people are here every day. Well, I know Steve's there because of his kids, and he is into baseball, and he'll work every hour of overtime he can get. and he'll work so hard when he's here, as long as he could be off for his son's or daughter's softball, baseball games, whatever that looks like. Whatever that why is, if you know that's his why, and you could say, look, if we can hit these goals, I'll pay for the softball season this year for you, or whatever that looks like. You're in a small business. You could do stuff like that. Yeah. And that's the beauty of doing that. But if you understand their why, then you can build motivational things around them to try to get them to produce as much as you can. And now all of a sudden, now you can look at this person and go, wow, if I know what motivates these people, I can build a tailored pay structure to get them to do that. And guess what? Now you've got a lifer. When you have employees that are lifers and they're here to work hard and they know what you want to do, it's a game-changing situation in the business when you have one or two people that really have your back, and change that to most of my team has my back, or all of my team has my back. When I have businesses that got to those stages, like there was times literally when for me, it was like, I'm just going to get out of the way and let them run this, because I'm slowing them down. Those guys are popping in my head, and girls are popping in my head that have worked for us that have been that way. And I think that it's such a powerful thing. So step one, figure out your why. Make sure you can explain it, organize it, put it in ChatGPT, Grok, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think that part also, it's a time of reflection on if you're the leader that these type of people are going to serve under and be a part of as well. Like, it's a time, and we have these conversations every day, and I'm thankful that we have them, but it's like, hey, if we want this type of leader, we want this type of person on our team, are we doing it on our side? Yeah. Are we putting the effort in?
It's so easy to say, oh, X-employee sucks, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But if X-employee is a person that some people have to see it in writing, some people have to touch it, feel it, like, everybody learns a different way. We've all been, you went through school and you saw that this person excels in this one, that person excels in that. Again, I go back to, if you're the owner of the business and you're taking ownership of this, you have to understand your people. And if they learn a certain way, you have to coach them. You are a coach as much as you are a business owner or a professional, whatever it is.
You're a coach, therapist, finance guy. You're all of it. And it's a matter of...
Flip your hat around. How can I help?
Exactly. One thing that you've done that I haven't really seen a lot of prior to starting this business with you, that I think you do extremely well, is when we have an employee join our team, if we have somebody that we bring on, you make sure to resource them well. If you're going to ask somebody to do something, you're going to make sure that they have all the resources necessary to do it, to where it's not a frustration for them. You are setting it up for them to succeed. Yeah. I think so often we bring employees on, especially as a new company, a new business, or a small business, and we've got to count the cost of the resources that we're going to provide for the employee, as well as bringing them on. If we bring them into a situation where they don't have the things needed to succeed, that's going to cause frustration, and it's an expense.
It is.
Like, for one of our guys, we bought a truck and wrapped it for him to drive. That's an expense. For our media team, we buy all the equipment that makes it work for them, to where they're not having to go through hoops. I think that that's something that a lot of business owners aren't fully ready or willing to be fully on board.
My theory is business is a math equation. A plus B always equals C. And when you take an employee and you say, look, we need somebody to come in and perform at this level, I'm looking at the ROI. There's an ROI that every employee should add value to your business. And if they don't, do I really need to hire that employee? That's a very loaded statement. But if you are a small business with under 20 people, I would say most of your roles are you need to be hiring value-added people. And if you're not hiring value-added stuff, you're actually creating expenses for your business. And are you ready to take on those expenses? I can't answer that in a podcast without talking directly to you.
And ROI looks a little different for every situation as well.
It does. Different rules. If you're talking, if you say, I want to go hire a media team to do blah, 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 or I'm going to hire another employee to do plumbing for me, and I'm going to bring that on. There's an ROI number that makes sense to you. Look, if I pay this person $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever that number is, I expect to make, to me, I think a good rule of thumb is 3 times. If I pay the employee $75,000, I want to make 3 times that on the gross scale. A third of it goes to, if I can make $210,000 with somebody, a third of it goes to labor, a third of it goes to overhead, and a third of it should go to profit. That's just a general rule of thumb in general business. I think that's a great, as a business owner, that's a ballpark that you can live by from that standpoint. So I think it's very wise if you say, okay, let's do some reverse math here. I've got this many people. I added this employee. Have I increased it by that much? that's how you can value a lot of what you do for people. So to me, if you hire another plumber for your company or another CPA or another real estate agent or whatever that is, you need to look at what those numbers are and you need to do the reverse math on it. Again, I go back to overhead. Yeah, we spend a lot of money on taxes. We spend a lot of money on insurance. We spend a lot of money on phones. We spend money on marketing. We spend money on blah, 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 blah. But I'm taking a third of that. And I'm not saying that I'm going to spend, if they're a $75,000 employee, I'm going to spend $75,000 on a bunch of crap. But I am going to have a budget in my mind that, look, to make them do their, not make them, to help them do their job. To do their job well where I want them to be. I can't expect somebody that may not have a clue what they're doing or not know how our systems are and don't know our values 100%. They haven't seen the decision I make. Yeah. If I'm in a business and I'm out there working every day and I'm making a decision, I want everybody around me to know the decisions, because if I'm not there, I want them to make a decision. And guess what? I want them to make the decision that I would make when I'm not there, that I think is the best for my company.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
We were just at a lunch with Jack Stack. It's a manufacturing company.
SRC. Yep.
And he said he attributes transparency as to one of the most important things as owning and running a business and building it the way he does. And I think that's so true. Yep. Every part, I mean, employees don't need to see every single part of the business, but as transparent as you can be, I think that's so important. And a lot of times we like to keep that to ourselves, whether it's out of insecurity or whatever. I think it's really important for the whole team to be on.
And I mean, if you're doing a trade and you don't want somebody to learn it, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody's really going to steal something, they're going to steal it. Get your non-disclosures, get your NDA signed, get your non-compete signed, stuff like that. A lot of it's not worth the paper it's written on, but there's definitely protection laws as owners, and we can get into that with an attorney sometime as a guest. But at the end of the day, if the employee has a job and you've been transparent about what the goals are and where you want to see it, and then what motivates them and what makes them happy, and you can fit the right people in the right, putting the right shoe on the right foot. That's a big saying that I always tell people: make sure your employees, they're in the right role for what they're good at. If you get them in that situation, you've already stacked the cards in your favor. In today's day and age, I think the common thing is, I'm going to have to go through 20 employees to find one good one. Yeah, maybe, but maybe you're not doing a good. If that's the case, maybe you're not doing that good job as a leader.
The ratio might be a little better than that.
Yeah, and if you know this type of personality doesn't fit in well, or I'm not good at coaching them this way or that, don't hire them. I don't mean to be rude. There's a million jobs out there for people. They can go get a job somewhere else. If just because they walked in and they've got a pulse and that you think they're going to be great, if they learn a different way than you're good at teaching, you have to understand your positive and weaknesses. Because if you're weak at teaching somebody that's this style of person, and then you hire that style of person, you just set them up to fail. And at the end of the day, the cost and the expense that you're going to invest in somebody, you're never going to get that time back. It's gone. Yeah. That time is gone. So if you invest 6 months in learning something, and then I watch people, they hire somebody and then they drag them on and they drag them on and they drag them on. I'm going to make them work. I'm going to get them to work. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And then it never happens, right?
And it causes frustration on both sides.
And the employees get pissed around them. I mean,
and it slows you down as a business. There's so many costs to that. So I guess that kind of leads me into this question of, when it doesn't work, how do you've been through, you understand your vision, you're finding the motivations for your employee, you're resourcing them well, and you're still having some of this, because that will happen. Like you can go through all those steps and it still might not be a good fit. So what happens at that point?
I'm going to circle back. You do a really good job laying your stuff out. In 1 hour, it's amazing what you can do on AI to lay out you and your business and your goals and what it is. That's great. Second step, you go in, you take a person to coffee, you bring them in, do something with them, blah, blah, blah. You learn what motivates them. You learn that side.
I think if you're further in that point as well, if there's frustrations, I think you're open about it too.
Absolutely.
Like at that moment when you're talking about their motivations, I think you share with them, here's some of the things I'm feeling as a leader, and help me to understand what's going on.
So you've done that. You've done a really good job there. I think if that happens and you've gone through these steps and you've gone through these processes, the next thing I do, like if you're having an issue with an employee, ex-employee's not doing what you say, I think you go to them, you write them up, just do a written write-up. Again, use AI, write them up, put the guardrails around them and say, I'm going to give you 2 weeks. And I expect this. This is what I expect. You've been doing this. I don't like it. This is what we need you to do. This is the parameters. I want to see an improvement over the next 2 weeks. And I would not give them a month. I would not give them 90 days. I need you to change. I need you to change right now. And I think what happens a lot of times is when you have that conversation, they either go, crap, I really messed up. This is bad. And then you see this instant raise in it.
You're going to see extra effort immediately.
Or you see the opposite and you have that conversation and they go, man, the owner, he's such a jerk, and and then they go squall to employees. They go, and it ends up being a cancer in your organization, and you know it right then. Mm-hmm. At that point, they're gone. You just need to get rid of them, move on, do that. And my thing is, you can go back in 2 weeks and say, look, this is what's happened. This is what I asked you to do. This is where we're at. It's not working. When you know that person's not going to work in your organization, it's time to get rid of them. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have a conversation with another employee about how one of their coworkers isn't good and you're tired of their work and you're probably to the point where something major needs to happen. Either you need to circle back to the beginning, get them back on the bus and get that happening, or you need to have that conversation. Once you've had that hard conversation, if they're still not working, it's time to let them go, move them on. If you can help them, great. If you can't, at the end of the day, letting somebody go, it's terrible, it sucks, it's an event for all of them. But in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they're probably going to have another job. They're probably going to be somewhere else. And if they're not happy and you're not happy, there's no reason to try to hold something together. If it's a bad relationship, it's a bad relationship. Call a spade, move on. Help them. Try to do it as well as you can. Put a letter of reference together for them, what they are good at, and be open and honest. And, if you need to give them a severance package, give them a severance package. Get them moved on down the road. Do everything you feel like you need to do. Obviously, follow state and local laws. Yeah. Do what you got to do. Talk to your attorney. But get them moved down the road and then focus on where you need to be.
And don't think too much of that cost or expense because it's going to be saving you time, money, energy.
It's a sunk expense what you've spent. What you've got to do is get better at hiring and learning. A lot of this I go back to is about you setting up who you are, what the company is, and the values there, and then getting the employee on board. One thing I can say when you hire, this is definitely a bonus tip. If it's an important key role, take them to dinner. Grab your wife. Get a date for the kids, get them and, get a babysitter and go take that employee and their spouse, go to dinner, and it's amazing what you learn. It'll either make you feel great about the hire, it'll make you walk away going, eesh, and I think that's an awesome thing to do. And I'm not one to say you need to be best friends with employees. I think it's a really tough balance to hire friends and do things like that. It's going to end up not well, but on the same token, if you're taking somebody and you take them to a professional lunch or professional dinner, something like that, and you hear the conversations, you're going to learn if their values and morals and ethics line up with your morals, values, and ethics. And you're going to learn quickly. Are they a user? Are they a taker? Are they willing to help? Are they, and I'm not saying take them to dinner and make them pay. I'm not saying that. But you'll get that vibe when you're around them. You'll understand what it is. You'll break down some of the interview nerves, maybe things along those lines. And I think that's a really great bonus tip. If it's in a really important role and it's somebody that you want to be as a long-term thing, I think that's a fantastic way to get a little insight before you're really connected.
Spot on. What I'm hearing a lot of is clarity on your vision, on where you're going as a company, clarity on the role for your employee, clarity on your role and how you're leading the company as well. I think that takes a lot of the momentum and pushes it forward. I also like that 2 week, you write up your employee, you're saying, hey, I'm open with you. I'm being transparent. This is what we're feeling. Having a few actionable items that they should be able to accomplish in those 2 weeks. And that way, when you meet up, you say, hey, we hit these goals, we didn't hit these goals, whatever that looks like, but it gives you a real clear path of what's going on next.
Yeah, it's super important. And, I've let employees go prematurely, in my opinion, and it's normally because I didn't set the expectations and what I wanted done. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you get, and what happens as you grow a business, you're just trying to survive and get going as best you can, right? Yeah. And you hire this person and you hire that person and I need another helper, so I hire this guy. And it just kind of evolves. But there's nothing wrong with saying, I need a hard time out. We're going to reset this. We're going to, to speed up, sometimes you got to slow down. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go get organized. We're going to have these conversations. I'm going to sit down with my group of employees. I'm going to talk about the company, what I see it, where I see we're going. And then I'm going to go have one-on-one meetings with everybody and just talk about their jobs, their roles, what's going on, and do that. And and you have to, as a boss and an owner, is develop employees. It's no different than a football team, a baseball team, soccer, whatever it is. You develop your staff around you. And if you're not developing people, that's a problem.
It's the same with your business. If you're not growing as a business when it comes to your systems, your processes, your efficiency, then your business is dying. And the same is true with
growing or dying. It's one or the other. And you can't just throw it all out there and expect it to stick. And that happens all the time. I've watched that with businesses, and I've been as guilty as, I mean, if you're sitting there going on terrible, I've done worse, I promise.
And you are busy as a business owner. Like it seems like it could be unattainable. But when you really realize the amount of effort and that you're going to be saving by this employee being efficient and working well, then it's well worth the time.
Well, go back to the numbers. I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to make a living, and we're here to make a good living, and we're trying to buy ourselves wealth, buy ourselves freedom, take care of our family, take care of our employee families. Like, we feel all that pressure on us. But if you say I pay X employee $50,000 a year, $75,000, whatever that is, I mean, it's not hard to go look at it and say, am I getting 3X of that? What am I getting? And if you got an employee that you pay him $75,000 and they're probably producing you around 80, that should be, go look at the numbers. And then furthermore, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a number of people that are watching this and they're going to go, well, I don't know what my employee meant. I don't even know how to do that calculate. Like, how would I do that calculation?
Yeah.
You need to get a hold of us. If you don't know how to do that, that's where a CPA comes in. That's where a good financial advisor comes in. That's where a coach comes in, a consultant, something like that. And you need to learn how to itemize that type of thing so you can make sure that every time you hire, you're actually going somewhere, not just busy work.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I think this is a great conversation, and it's a fun thing. As a business owner, it's a privilege to have these kind of hard conversations with people and to lead employees in this way. So always remember that. If you're frustrated, if you feel like, man, I'm paying these employees and this isn't the expectation I had, I'm making less right now and they're making it. And I would just say, stick to the course. I think that's a big part. Really have clarity on where you're headed, on what your value and your vision is, and live it out, and then show these guys how to move forward. I think there's a lot to it. So if you're having any questions or concerns in your business, I mean, we are growing and we're building this out, but we'd love to just have a conversation with you and walk with you through it. Not that we're a total expert, but we do know people that have done it. And we're going to have conversations with business owners who have done incredible things throughout the series. And so if you have any questions, we'd love to help.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast this week. This is episode number 3, and we are so excited to be doing this. We plan on a lot more, and we've heard a lot of great feedback from people, which is really, really cool to see. So thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys next week.